So what do you think about non-sugar sweeteners? Some call them artificial sweeteners. Are they good? Are they bad? Are you for them? Are you against them? Well, we're going to talk about that, and we're going to test them. Well, it's a blessing to be with you again and do one of these tests. And as usual, I have my sweetie by my side, and her name is Benedicta. Welcome again.
Thanks so much. It's great to be here.
Well, we're going to talk about and we're going to test artificial sweeteners, and some might call it a natural sweetener, which is stevia. And then, of course, we've got sugar. So just by way of introduction, I want to ask you, what is the movie we watch every Christmas, or almost every Christmas, around the Christmas season? It's an old black and white movie, and I just love it, and I have to watch it. It doesn't feel like it's Christmas if I don't see it. What is that movie?
It's called It's a Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah, Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart. Just love that movie. And there's a line in it that somehow strikes me, and I think about it in relation to what some people tell me about nutrition. That is the case. I don't know if you remember, you probably do, but when he is just a boy, he's working for a pharmacist, working in a pharmacy.
Yes.
And the pharmacist, the man that owns the drugstore, he accidentally sends out something to somebody that's actually poison instead of the drug that they need. And Jimmy Stewart, as a kid, recognizes this isn't right, takes a test of it, and says, hey, and he won't deliver it. He comes back to the man, and he gives that famous line that I don't know why, I just like that line. He says, it's poison, I tell you, it's poison. Well, what does that have to do with beat diabetes?
Well, there are some things, that we eat and drink that are so poisonous to the body, and the body will be screaming, this is not good, like too much sugar, too much carbohydrates, and all of that.
Yeah. Well, I would say the number one poison that most people are guilty of ingesting a lot of is sugar itself.
Right.
And sugar is so harmful. It is so deleterious. It is so detrimental to health that really it sort of is like poison, but the deception of it is you can eat it one day and feel fine. You can eat it for a year and feel fine. You can eat it for 20 years and be fine. You can eat it for 30 years and be fine. But if you eat too much of it, it's probably going to catch up with you.
Okay.
But people are always saying everything is poison, and probably the one thing that they believe is the most poisonous of all are these babies. Apart from sugar itself, and we've got sugar here.
Yeah.
But these artificial sweeteners, we've got this one made with aspartame.
Okay.
People just absolutely hate it. It's the one they love to hate, you might say. And then this one is made with saccharin, and people hate that just about equally bad.
Okay.
And then we've got Splenda, and they hate that as well.
Okay.
Now, when I was young in trying to keep my carbs low,
right,
I was kind of naive in the sense that I didn't worry about what's artificial, what's not, what's poison, what's not. I look for one thing only.
And
low carbs.
Low carbs.
Zero carbs or very low carbs.
Yeah.
So I would look at a sweetener like this. I'd say, okay, carbs, 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 carbs. Less than 1 gram of carbs for a packet. I'd say, hey, that's not going to affect my blood sugar.
No.
I'd go with this one. Okay, carbs, carbs, carbs. Less than 1 gram per packet.
Not so much.
Not so much. Splenda the same way. All of these basically say, we don't have any carbs.
No.
So in my mind, the idea was, then they must not be any problem for blood sugar.
Right.
Sometimes I didn't bother to test them because it's like, well, they don't have any carbs. How in the world could they affect blood sugar?
I don't know.
But one thing I noticed as I did a little research, this, and this Splenda here is made with a base of something called maltodextrin. You ever hear of that?
Never heard of it. What is that?
Maltodextrin. It's in this, it's in this, it's in this. You get a maltodextrin, and you get a maltodextrin, and you get a maltodextrin.
Hey, what are you, Oprah?
So here's what I copied this off a site on the internet. I forget the name of it now. It says this, and I've heard people say this in the comments, maltodextrin has an even higher glycemic index than table sugar. This means that it can cause a sharp increase or spike in people's blood sugar shortly after they eat foods that contain it.
Okay.
A spike in blood glucose can be dangerous for people with diabetes or insulin resistance. Well, we know that.
Yeah.
And it goes on and says some more things. So, according to this and according to a lot of people, maltodextrin will raise your blood sugar about like sugar, even though when you look at the carbs, it's going to say almost none.
No.
So, but I'm a little cynical. I don't always believe everything people tell me.
Okay.
And who I really tend to believe is a guy named Mike. Do you ever hear of him?
I've heard of Mike.
Yeah. You know, I had him on the show the other day.
Yeah, he was the star of the show.
And he told me that he was more popular than you. What do you think about that?
Well, I need to spank him.
He's got a little bottom. I don't know if you could find a way to spank him or not.
I am more popular than Mike.
Well,
you should know that by now.
I know. I tried not to argue with him. I don't like to argue with my guests that I interview, so I just let that one pass. But
right.
I couldn't believe he would say a thing like that.
Why would he say a thing like that?
Why would he say a thing like that? I don't know. Anyway, but no, seriously, I do tend to believe my blood sugar more than somebody writes a comment or somebody writes an article, somebody puts an internet article out, someone talks about glycemic index. We read about the Ezekiel bread, which is one of our most popular videos where we compared it with white, and it was bragging all over the place that it had a low glycemic index. But when we tested our blood sugar, the spike wasn't all that different from white bread.
Right.
So just because somebody says something, I don't necessarily believe it. I tend to believe Mike more than almost anybody except
Mike
the
the
Lord
meter.
and the Bible. So
yeah.
I go with Mike.
Yeah.
And if Mike were to run for president, who knows? I just might not only vote for him, but work for him as well.
Work for him. Mm.
So we're going to test these. We're not going to come on camera before every test. We're just getting you started and kind of explaining what we're doing. Now we do have one other. We've got the artificial sugars, Splenda, Saccharin, Aspartame. We've got this baby, which is Stevia. In fact, it's not just Stevia. It is organic
Stevia.
Man, you don't get any better than that, right?
No, yeah.
I mean, this is grass-fed Stevia.
Okay.
No, I don't think it was grass-fed because I don't think Stevia eats grass. But anyway, this is not really supposed to be artificial.
Okay.
So we're going to compare the artificial with the stevia, which is more natural, and sugar, of course, is natural. It's just so concentrated, it's not good for you, and we know that it's not good for you. So we're going to see what Mike has to say about sugar, about the artificial sweeteners, and about the stevia.
Lemonade.
So Benedicta has talked me into just using 4 packets rather than 5. I have to agree that 5 would have been almost overkill, but I really wanted to try to make a difference between these different sweeteners to see which one would raise it the most, and the more you use equally, the bigger the difference is going to be. But we are doing 4. So 4 packets of Splenda with its maltodextrin as a base, and let us give a little clink of the glasses and take a taste and tell me, what do you think about our homemade lemonade that you've just made?
It's really good.
You haven't tried it yet. Or did you sneak one while I wasn't looking?
No, but it's really good. Sweet is good.
It is good. Yeah, it's basically kind of like the lemonade. It's really not that sweet. We probably could have got away with an extra one. Now, one thing I'll let you know, normally we'll test after 1 hour. But with the lemonade, I think we'll make it about 50 minutes because liquid drinks, well, all drinks are liquid, but liquids are going to hit your blood sugar a little bit faster than food. The food has to be broken down and crunched and dissolved and all that.
Yeah.
The liquid is already liquid, so it goes into your blood pretty quick.
Okay.
I have a feeling we'll hit our peak a little sooner. So we'll test it about 50 minutes to see how we peak after we tested our blood sugar before we came on camera.
Right.
So we're going to do a couple more experiments that will not be on camera, and then we'll come back with the final, the big mama, the actual sugar, and see what that does to us.
You mean we're going to drink sugar?
We're going to actually have real sugar in our final segment. So we will see you after a while. Well, sweetie, we've been enjoying a lot of lemonade lately, haven't we?
Yes, we have been drinking a lot of it.
This is test number 5, and we have tried everything, and now we are down to the last test and the worst of all. You know, there's a term in the military that's called fraternizing with the enemy.
I didn't go to the ministry.
Okay, well, fraternizing with the enemy, it's actually an offense. You can go to jail for fraternizing with the enemy. And in this case, the enemy is this baby right here. It's sugar. This is just pure sugar.
Okay.
Now,
yeah, it's sugar, right?
Now, I will say, if you have to say something nice about something, and people say, well, you should always find something nice to say about everybody.
Yeah.
So if I had to say anything nice about sugar, I would say
it's so sweet.
It doesn't have a lot of chemicals to it. It's just pure.
Yeah.
There's not a big long list of ingredients. It's just cane sugar. So it brags about being pure cane sugar, and that's what it is. This is highly concentrated. It may be natural, but it is highly concentrated.
Yes.
And I was really only semi-kidding when I talked about fraternizing with the enemy. This really is the enemy of diabetics.
Okay.
Really, diabetics have about 4 big enemies. They've got a lot of enemies, really, but the 4 big ones would be sugar, grains of all kinds, high fructose corn syrup, which is another form of sugar, and potatoes. So if you could just eliminate those from your diet, sugar, high fructose corn syrup, grains, and potatoes, you would be worlds ahead of where some of you are right now. In any case, we've tried sweeteners with aspartame, sweetener with saccharin, Splenda, Stevia, and we'll talk about how that affected us. Yes. We're finally down to just plain old sugar.
Oh.
So we're going to mix in 4 packets of sugar. I will say that it seems like a lot, and probably most people wouldn't use 4 packets of sugar in a drink this size.
What are we making?
But according to this, the carbs would be 7 grams for 2 packets. So these 4 would represent 14 grams. That's not a huge amount of carbs. It's not candy bar level, definitely not fruit pie level. But still, I expect it's going to affect us more than the various artificial sweeteners. So let's go ahead and put these packets in, and we'll take a drink. Now, with the aspartame, and the Splenda, you didn't really complain about the taste. But when we tried it with the Stevia, you said it had kind of a funny taste, right?
Yes, it had a little taste to it, but the other ones, I wasn't complaining, but I kind of noticed it. Like, the other ones didn't really bring out that kind of heavy taste to it. But
okay. And you're not the only one that has complained about that. A number of people talk about the aftertaste of Stevia, and there's different forms of it, so some are better and some are worse. Yeah. Go ahead, take a sip of the real sugar sweetened lemonade and tell me, how does that taste compared to the Stevia and all the others?
Oh. It's not really tasting out.
It's not as sweet, is it?
No.
In fact, you taste much more of the lemon
than the sugar.
Than you do the sugar. But we're going to go ahead and have this. So I guess most people would have sugar in larger amounts than this. These packets come small. But all the others tasted much sweeter than these 4 packets of real sugar, which surprises me. I figured the sugar would be the sweetest of all. But these, I guess they put it in such small packets, and that way they can brag about 7 grams of carbs for two packets. So we're going to go ahead and drink it. It's a little bit tart, but we'll see what it does compared to the others. We'll be back in a little bit and let you know how we fared. Well, it's been around 50 minutes since we drank our sugar water, or sugar lemonade, I guess you could say, which was the least sweet lemonade I've ever had in my life. It tasted like there was hardly any sugar in it. I don't know why. But at any rate, Benedicta is going to do something for you all. When we were in our early stages of testing ourselves and coming on Beat Diabetes, she would have me do it all. I would have to stick the strip in the meter and punch her finger and squeeze it and attach her finger to the strip and the whole thing. But she has progressed and graduated. So you are now an expert. And I'll go ahead and stick this in, and you go ahead and stab your finger.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
We will see right here on camera what she has done and what that sugar did to her.
Okay, it's really doing it.
Okay, a 110.
10.
Whoa. 133. Okay, so I want you to go ahead and share with our audience how you did on all the different tests, and we will compare it. And just remember at the end on the sugar, it was a 110. We don't have that written down.
Oh, okay, right. So, when it comes to this, the Splenda pre-meal test was 100 for me. And then after 50 minutes, it was 98. And then Aspartame pre-meal test was 120 for me. And then after 50 minutes, it was 111, I'm sorry. 111. So for the Saccharin and pre-meal was 97, and after 50 minutes it was 100. And Stevia pre-meal for me was 97, and after 50 minutes it was 100. And now sugar we did today, pre-meal for my sugar was 93, and then after 50 minutes of drinking the sugar I was 110.
Okay, so really, the other sweeteners we use, they didn't really have much effect on you.
No, they didn't.
You just went pretty much nowhere. In one case, you dropped, but that 120 at the beginning was kind of unusually high for you, so I think you were probably dropping anyway.
Yes.
But basically, the Splenda, the Aspartame, the Saccharin, the Stevia, they all had almost no effect.
Yes.
The sugar brought you up from 93 to 110. That's a 17-point rise, so it definitely had more effect, even though we couldn't even hardly taste it. It definitely had more effect.
Yes.
So for Benedicta, the 4 sweeteners were all pretty similar in that they did not spike her blood sugar. The biggest rise she had with them was a scrawny 3 points. With the sugar, however, it spiked her glucose 17 points, so that would be over 3 times higher than any of the other ones. But for me, it was a different story. Every sweetener raised my blood sugar some, except for one. With the Splenda, I went from 108 before to 136 50 minutes after drinking. With the aspartame sweetener, I went from 107 pre-test to 120 post-test. With the saccharin sweetener, I went from 96 to 110. But with the stevia, my glucose levels dropped. I went from 117 before the test down to 93 50 minutes after drinking that stevia Kool-Aid. And with the sugar, I was at 107 before drinking and 133 50 minutes afterwards. The 2 clear losers for me in this test were the Splenda and the sugar. Amazingly, Splenda raised my glucose 28 points. The sugar raised it 26 points. So if this test is any indication, you're not saving yourself anything by choosing Splenda over sugar. But of course, you should test yourself and see if this holds true for you. It did not hold true for Benedicta. The clear winner for me in these tests was stevia. Not only did it not raise my glucose, it actually dropped it 15 points. However, I had eaten a small bowl of lentil soup for lunch about 3 hours previously, and it seems to me that my glucose had not reached its base level before I drank that stevia lemonade, and it was probably in the process of dropping anyway. But it's good to know the stevia did not raise my blood sugar at all. Now, one surprise for me was that the 4 packets of sugar did almost nothing to sweeten our lemon water. All the other sweeteners did give that lemon water a sweet lemonade taste, but not the sugar. It probably would have taken 7 or 8 packets of that sugar to get it to the proper lemonade sweet taste that we're all familiar with. And what this means is, when you go to the restaurant and order lemonade or sweet tea, and it tastes nice and sweet, you can bet there's a lot of sugar in it, far more than those 4 packets we use today. The stevia packet says it's twice as sweet as sugar, and after this test, I can believe it. But not only the stevia, the Splenda, the aspartame, and the saccharin were all about equally sweet. In sweetness, 4 packets of pure sugar were simply not enough to do the job. These tests confirmed what I instinctively felt, which was that stevia is the sweetener of choice for people concerned about glucose levels. Erythritol and swerve would probably also give very little sugar spike. Now, I know some people might think stevia is too expensive, but the answer is to buy it in bulk. The batch that I used in this test was bought off Amazon, and I was able to get 1,000 packets of stevia for $34. So that's going to last me a pretty good long time. I'll put a link in the description to that product if you're interested in getting it yourself. And by the way, it's not actually pure stevia. It also contains some organic erythritol as well. If, like me, you consider stevia to be considerably superior to other sweeteners, well, here's a tip for you. If you know you're going to go to a restaurant and order coffee or tea which you'd like to be sweetened, rather than relying on the restaurant sweeteners, which are probably going to either be sugar or Splenda or equal, take a couple of packets of stevia in your pocket or purse and use them instead. You might want to keep a little plastic bag with 10 or 20 packets in the glove compartment of your car to use when you forget to bring your stevia from home. As always, I encourage you to do tests like these on yourself and see how they affect you. And let us know in the comments. Well, to close our program, I'm going to let Benedicta have the honors.
It's a goodbye for me, and don't forget to subscribe if you have not subscribed. Don't forget to give us some comments below if you have tested all this and then how it happened and how you loved it. And so subscribe and then give us thumbs up and like it. So till we see again, it's Benedicta saying goodbye.